Welcome to the Calabash Diaries. Today, we journey to the ancient Kingdom of Aksum, a powerful African empire that ruled from approximately 100 to 940 AD, located in what's now northern Ethiopia and Eritrea. Axum was a wealthy and inventive empire, one of the first to adopt Christianity in Africa. We'll explore how Axum became powerful through trade, unusual facts you've never heard, King Ezana's story and the rise of Christianity, its achievements and why it fell, and how the Solomonic Dynasty carried on its legacy. Let's begin. Long before Europe's great empires rose to fame, an African kingdom stood at the crossroads of the ancient world. This was Axum, a powerful realm strategically located along the Red Sea, where trade routes connected Rome, India, and Arabia. From its bustling ports, merchants carried gold, ivory, spices, and exotic animals like giraffes and elephants to distant lands. This vibrant exchange of goods made Axum a wealthy and influential kingdom, commanding respect across 3 continents. The early kings of Axum, such as King Ndubis, were pioneers in their own right. Around the 3rd century AD, they began minting gold and silver coins, a remarkable achievement unique among African kingdoms. These coins not only facilitated trade, but also broadcast the kingdom's power and sophistication to the world. Oral traditions name a legendary figure, Zahakan, also called Tata Dim, as the first king who laid the foundations of the Aksumite era. Though historical records vary, his story remains an important part of Ethiopia's rich heritage. Aksumites also controlled the famed Lalibela Labaya gold mines, producing the fine gold that adorned their royal coins and helped fund the kingdom's growth. One of the most striking legacies of Axum is its towering obelisks, massive stone monuments carved from a single piece of granite, some reaching over 24 meters high. These stelae served as grave markers for royalty, centuries before Rome erected similar monuments. The earliest people of Axum were a mix of local Cushitic-speaking Africans and South Arabian settlers who arrived across the Red Sea. These 2 cultures blended over time, sharing language, religion, and building styles to form a unique Aksumite identity. The local people, who spoke a Sabian-influenced language, built tombs and structures that initially mirrored South Arabian styles. Over time, however, these evolved into a unique form of Ethiopian architecture, blending foreign influence with indigenous creativity. Religion and culture were deeply intertwined. The Aksumites worshipped a variety of spirits, including the 9 saints, who would later be honored in churches with ritual music and dance that reflected a vibrant spiritual life. Before Christianity, Aksumites worshipped several gods, especially Mahrem, a war god linked to their kings. They built temples, offered sacrifices, and believed in spirits called Wak. Many of their beliefs were influenced by South Arabian traditions, but later transformed into a faith unique to Axum. By 270 AD, Axum had firmly established itself as a regional powerhouse, its wealth, architecture, and trade connections placing it among the ancient world's great civilizations. But what would come next was even more remarkable. The transformation of Axum into the world's first Christian empire outside Europe, a story of faith, politics, and legacy that begins with a king named Ezana. Rare fact: oral tradition names Zahakan Tatadim as the first legendary king. Contemporary chronicles say his reign began Ethiopia's Aksumite era. Vital detail: Aksumites controlled Lalibela Labaya mines, source of fine gold used in royal coins. Fun fact: early obelisks served as grave markers for royalty, centuries before Rome used monuments. Cultural color: the local Sabian-speaking people built tombs mimicking South Arabian styles. later evolving into unique Ethiopian architecture. In the early 4th century, a momentous shift unfolded in the heart of Axum. At that time, the kingdom was a thriving African powerhouse, its markets bustling with merchants from Rome, Arabia, and India. But the arrival of two Syrian brothers, Frumentius and Aedesius, would spark a transformation that forever changed Axum's place in history. King Ella Amida, also known by the throne name Usanas. He was a ruler of the Aksumite Empire in the early 4th century, just before Ezana's famous reign. Though Ella Amida's rule is not as well documented as his son's, we know several important things about him. He ruled during a time of strong trade, especially with the Roman Empire and India. He kept Axum's polytheistic religion alive, worshipping gods like Mahrem, the war deity tied to the king's power. He began strengthening ties with Christian communities, but did not convert himself. When Ella Amida died, Ezana was still a child. This made him too young to rule alone, so a regency was established to rule the kingdom until Ezana came of age. The most important person in Ezana's early life was a young Christian, scholarly Syrian man named Frumentius, who was sailing with his uncle when their ship was attacked. The survivors, including Frumentius and his brother Aedesius, were taken to the Kingdom of Aksum, a powerful African empire in what is now northern Ethiopia and Eritrea. But instead of becoming forgotten captives, the two boys impressed the royal court. Frumentius showed great intelligence and leadership. He was given a rare chance to serve at the royal court, and later he became the tutor of a young prince, a boy who would one day become King Ezana. on trade alone. The kingdom demonstrated remarkable administrative sophistication. They minted their coins, crafted from gold, silver, and bronze, that featured inscriptions in Greek, the lingua franca of trade and diplomacy at the time. These coins weren't just currency, they served as official statements of power and law, often bearing royal decrees and religious symbols. Aksumite coins were made by melting gold, silver, or bronze, then striking them with detailed stamps, dies, showing the king's face and religious symbols. These coins were used for trade across Africa, Arabia, and the Mediterranean, showing off Aksum's wealth and power. Some even had crosses, showing the kingdom's early adoption of Christianity. Local innovation played a key role, too. The people of Axum harnessed the natural resources found in the surrounding hills, particularly iron ore. They developed advanced iron tools that transformed agriculture, construction, and warfare. This technological edge allowed them to clear land, build monumental structures, and manufacture weapons, strengthening their hold on the region. This combination of maritime trade control, monetary authority, and technological advancement made Axum a true powerhouse of the ancient world, rich in wealth, culture, and innovation. In Axum, families were very close. Children lived with their parents, grandparents, and many relatives all in one big home or village. Everyone helped each other with daily chores like fetching water, cooking meals, and caring for animals. Children learned important skills from their parents. Boys might help their fathers in the fields, using iron tools to plant and harvest crops like barley and wheat. Girls learned how to weave cloth, prepare food, and take care of younger brothers and sisters. But most of all, children learned the stories and songs of their people. Storytelling was quite important in Axum. Around the fire at night, elders shared tales about kings, heroes, and the spirits that watched over the land. These stories taught lessons about bravery, kindness, and respect. Religion also played a big role in family life. Many families worshipped the spirits of the 9 saints, special holy figures believed to protect the people. They held celebrations with music, drums, and dancing to honor these spirits. When Christianity became the kingdom's religion under King Ezana, churches became places where families gathered to pray and celebrate together. Children wore simple clothes made from cotton or wool, often decorated with colorful patterns. They played with toys made from wood or clay, and enjoyed games such as racing and jumping. Life in Axum wasn't always easy, but families stayed strong by working together and keeping their culture alive through stories, music, and celebrations. This close family life helped Axum's people pass down their rich traditions for many generations. Rare fact: Aksumite architects built rainbow-colored churches buried underground with water wells for baptisms, some still used today in Lalibela. Port inscriptions credit Greek-speaking traders, bridging languages and cultures. Axum's ships had colored sails and were registered in early Christian maritime laws. Women merchants, called Nkume, ran market stalls with cloth and gold. It was normal to see matriarchs trading goods. By the year 500 AD, Axum was at the very top of its power. The kingdom was famous for its huge stone towers called obelisks, some carved from a single giant rock. These tall monuments showed the skill of Axum's builders and honored their kings. Axum's trade was richer than ever. Ships sailed from its ports carrying gold, spices, silk, and more. The kingdom's culture spread too, influencing nearby lands with its art, language, and religion. But as Axum's golden age reached its zenith, dark clouds gathered on the horizon. The world was changing. Shifting trade routes, rising powers in the east, and environmental changes would test the resilience of this great African kingdom. Around the 7th century, a new religion called Islam began to spread across Arabia and beyond. As more people followed Islam, trade routes shifted away from the Red Sea to the Persian Gulf. This meant fewer merchants came to Axum, and the kingdom's wealth started to decline. By about 940 AD, Axum slowly faded from the important place it once held in the ancient world. The powerful Sassanid Persian Empire forced the Axumites out of southern Arabia, modern-day Yemen, around 575 AD. Axum had once ruled parts of Yemen, but growing Islamic influence and Persian expansion pushed them back across the Red Sea. But even though its power had lessened, the stories, faith, and culture of Axum lived on. The last widely recognized Axumite king was Dil Na'ad, who ruled in the early 7th century. After his reign, the kingdom began to fade from history, although its culture lived on in later Ethiopian dynasties. The people of Ethiopia remember Axum as a symbol of their proud past, a kingdom that showed the world Africa's greatness long ago. Rare fact: King Caleb sent 60,000 soldiers to Yemen to protect Christians there, a rare African military intervention abroad. In the early 6th century, one of the most powerful and respected kings of Axum rose to the throne. His name was King Caleb, and he wasn't just a ruler. He became a symbol of courage, faith, and international power. King Caleb was likely part of the royal line descended from King Ezana, the monarch who first made Christianity the official faith of Axum. Caleb inherited a kingdom with strong trade routes, mighty obelisks, and a deep Christian faith. But he brought something new to the throne, a bold willingness to defend his people's beliefs, no matter where in the world those people lived. Here's the rare and incredible part. King Caleb didn't just rule Axum. He sent 60,000 soldiers across the Red Sea to fight in a foreign land. Why? Because Christians in the kingdom of Himyar, modern-day Yemen, were being persecuted by a ruler named Du Nuwas, who had converted to Judaism and began attacking Christian communities. Word reached Caleb, and he decided to act, not with words, but with warriors. Caleb's massive army crossed the sea into Arabia, a dangerous and expensive mission, but they defeated Du Nuwas and brought peace to the Christians there. Caleb even placed a loyal Christian, Sumyafa Ashwa, on the Himyarite throne to protect the people. This was one of the only major military interventions by an African Christian empire in another continent's affairs, long before modern global diplomacy even existed. Back in Axum, Caleb was deeply respected. He funded the building of churches, expanded religious schools, and supported missionaries. He even minted coins with crosses and inscriptions that praised God, just like King Ezana before him. Later in life, Caleb is believed to have abdicated the throne, meaning he gave up his crown and became a monk. Ethiopian tradition honors him as a saint to this day. His tomb is believed to rest in Axum, near the ruins of the ancient capital. Even centuries later, Ethiopian church songs still mention Caleb's bravery. His name is celebrated during certain feast days, and parents still name their children after him. Vital detail: environmental change, deforestation for charcoal, damaged agriculture, and led to economic decline. Axumites minted lead coins for local use, used by workers and soldiers. The Falasha, Beta Israel Jewish community, emerged near Axum, adding to its religious depth before Christianity dominated. Even though the kingdom of Axum faded from power by the 10th century, its story was far from over. Its traditions and culture lived on through a new royal family called the Solomonic Dynasty. Starting in 1270 AD, the Solomonic rulers claimed they were descendants of two famous figures, King Solomon of ancient Israel and Queen Sheba, who is said to have visited him long ago. This story helped them connect their rule to the powerful legacy of Axum and gave them great pride and respect. The Solomonic Dynasty kept many of Axum's most important traditions alive. They continued to practice Christianity just like King Ezana had done many centuries before. They used the ancient Ge'ez language for religious ceremonies and writing, preserving a vital part of Ethiopia's history. The royal architecture also showed Axum's influence. Ethiopian emperors built churches, castles, and palaces inspired by the old Axumite style, strong, beautiful, and filled with symbolism. Even today, Ethiopian emperors wear crowns, robes, and jewelry inspired by the kings of Axum. These traditions remind people of their deep roots and the long history that shaped their country. Axum's legacy isn't just in stones or coins. It lives in the heart of Ethiopia's culture, faith, and identity. To truly understand Axum's lasting legacy, we need to explore a famous story, a story that connects Africa, the Middle East, and Ethiopia's royal bloodline. Long ago, in ancient Israel, there was a wise and powerful king named Solomon. His wisdom and wealth were known across the world. Far to the south, in the land of Sheba, believed by many to be ancient Ethiopia, there ruled a brilliant and beautiful queen. She is remembered as the Queen of Sheba. The story goes that Queen Sheba heard of King Solomon's wisdom and decided to visit him. She traveled with a caravan full of gifts, gold, spices, and precious stones. When she arrived in Jerusalem, she tested Solomon with difficult questions, and he answered them all. Amazed by his wisdom and hospitality, she honored him with even more treasures. But here's where Ethiopian tradition adds its own twist. The ancient Ethiopian book, the Kebra Nagast, tells us that Queen Sheba and King Solomon had a son named Menelik I. This child later returned to Ethiopia and became its first emperor. This story became the foundation of Ethiopia's royal family. The Solomonic Dynasty, which began in 1270 AD, claimed descent from Menelik I, son of King Solomon of Israel, and Queen Sheba of Ethiopia. This gave them not only political power, but also a divine connection to biblical history. The story of Axum doesn't just live in stones and monuments, it lives in a legendary book, and a sacred object that still captures the imagination of millions today. Let's start with the Kebra Nagast, or the Glory of Kings. This ancient Ethiopian book, written in the Ge'ez language, tells the story of how Ethiopia's royal family descended from King Solomon of Israel and the Queen of Sheba. It says their son Menelik I grew up in Jerusalem, but later returned to Ethiopia. And he didn't come back empty-handed. According to the Kebra Nagast, Menelik I visited King Solomon in Jerusalem as a young man, after reaching maturity in Ethiopia. King Solomon offered to make him heir to the throne of Israel, but Menelik chose to return to Ethiopia, preferring his mother's homeland and feeling called to rule there. When Menelik I left Israel, a group of Levites, priests, loyal to him, secretly took the Ark of the Covenant, the sacred chest said to hold the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments, from the temple in Jerusalem. They replaced it with a replica so its absence would not be noticed. The true Ark was transported to Ethiopia, where it was hidden and preserved in the ancient city of Axum. Ethiopian Orthodox Christians believe the Ark resides in the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion in Axum, guarded by a single monk who is never allowed to leave the church grounds. No one, Not even the patriarch of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church is permitted to view the ark. Important note: this story is deeply embedded in Ethiopian Orthodox belief. However, there is no historical or archaeological proof outside of this tradition that the ark was ever taken to Ethiopia. The ark became more than a treasure. It became a symbol of Ethiopia's special role in God's plan, a sign that their kingdom was chosen and blessed. This belief gave Ethiopian emperors divine authority and tied their rule directly to biblical history. But the Kebra Nagast wasn't just about kings and holy objects. It shaped Ethiopian culture deeply. Its stories inspired artists, musicians, and priests. Beautiful paintings in churches show Menelik bringing the ark to Axum. Songs and chants in the Ge'ez language, accompanied by drums and lyres, retell the tale in vibrant rhythms that echo through Ethiopia's highlands even today. And what about the Ark of the Covenant itself? To this day, many Ethiopians believe it still rests in Axum, guarded in a small chapel by one chosen monk who never leaves its side. No one else is allowed to see it, adding mystery to its legend. Whether or not the Ark truly lies there, its story reminds us how Axum became not just a kingdom of trade and power, but a sacred land of faith and heritage that still inspires millions around the world today. Even centuries later, Ethiopian emperors wore crowns and robes patterned after what they believed their ancestors, King Solomon and Queen Sheba, once wore. This royal line lasted until 1974. It is important to note that, according to the Bible, after King Solomon died, 922 BCE, he was succeeded by his son Rehoboam, who proved to be unfit for the task of reigning. The kingdom didn't stay united. It split into two parts. The northern kingdom was called Israel, with main cities like Shechem and Samaria. The southern kingdom was called Judah, and it included Jerusalem and the Jewish temple. Vital detail: the tabat, a wooden replica from the ark, is carried only by priests and is believed to have magical power. Patriarchal coronations included Aksumite coronation songs that taught kings how to govern and care for Ethiopia. Ethiopia's national celebration, Timkat, Epiphany, still features the belief that Christ was baptized in the Jordan River. Aksumites are said to have been the first to celebrate this in Africa. The Kingdom of Aksum remains one of Africa's most impressive kingdoms, rich in trade, faith, and culture. It shaped Ethiopian identity and left a legacy that lasts to this day. Thank you for watching the Calabash Diaries. If you enjoyed this journey, like, subscribe, and share. See you on our next journey.